Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Radical Reality Productions. We are here today with myself, as always, Jay Milligan, your host, our exit specialist, Julia Rowe, and our fifth place finisher and the immunity queen this season, Victoria Fung. Victoria, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well.
All right. So, yeah, with that being said, we are going to go ahead and hand it over to Julia and get started today.
Hi, Victoria. Thanks so much for joining us. So the first question I have for you is just tell me where you think it all went wrong for you.
I think where it went wrong was probably the Lily vote. I think if I had just gone with the plan to vote out Ian at that vote, I think that things would be a lot different. And perhaps I should not have won so many immunity challenges.
So obviously pre-existing connections played a major factor into the season, with them really coming to fruition in the post-merge section of the game.
Mhm.
What was your approach to those relationships that you had or others had once you saw the cast? And how did they affect your game specifically?
I think in terms of the pre-merge and the post-merge, I think there was maybe like a unspoken agreement that we wouldn't go after each other in the pre-merge, but after the merge it would be fair game. And I think that I was just trying to survive round by round because I knew once once the cast got down to all of the people who had strong connections, it would be difficult. Um, but if I were to do it again, I think I would have tried to work with people who I didn't have pre-existing relationships with, so I could play both sides kind of.
So
Can I just ask?
obviously,
Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
you go.
Now, I was to say, I'm gonna ask a follow-up question because I think it's sort of interesting. So, like, if you had to choose, let's say, out of anyone, you can choose people that end up on Shayu originally, or even like Zach, who was on original Shayu. If it worked out differently or anything, like, who are some of those people that were not in the DCP group that you would have looked forward to working with? You can choose anyone, not just anyone in your tribe.
I think the earlier merge votes, so like Matt, Elijah, Bill, I would have worked with them more starting from the beginning of the merge, I think.
Is anyone pre-merge that you would like thought maybe like, oh, maybe like I should bring these guys in, like bring maybe like one or two of them into the merge, and it's that kind of protect you a little bit.
Andrew, I think at the vote where Andrew went, I would have preferred to keep him.
Right. Thank you.
So as Jay said in your introduction, you were the immunity queen this season. You killed it in the challenges, and obviously that put a target on your back.
Mhm.
Going back, would you have done it differently, or would you have still tried hard in all those challenges, but maybe leaned into that threat level a little bit more as maybe a shield as you got towards the end game?
It's hard to say because I think in minis, especially in a game where there's a lot of pre-existing relationships, I don't think you can win the game with just relationships because everyone who makes it to the end would have relationships. So I think if I somehow got to the end, I think that the wins would have helped me win. But yeah, I'm not really sure what I could have done instead because even if I threw some challenges, I still think I would have come in with a reputation of being good at challenges, which would get people to want to vote me out. So maybe I could frame it as like I'm winning immunity, but I'm not actually going to win. So I can help keep immunity away from the people we're going to vote out.
So you went out in a unanimous vote. Obviously, the name you pushed didn't get much traction. Do you think pushing another name would have helped more? Obviously, there were some threats, not including yourself, going into that final four after your vote. So do you think another name maybe would have kept you in?
I think with the people who were remaining at Final Five, I don't think there would have been another name because I was probably one of the bigger threats if it wasn't Ian. So I don't think at Final Five I could have done too much, but I should have either gotten rid of him originally in the Lily vote or made sure it happened at Final Six. So then Bill would still be in the game, and then maybe we could switch that order potentially.
Awesome. Jay, do you have any follow-up questions on anything?
Yeah, I was just thinking. So you like like I think like personally so you see like in the earlier portion like pre-merge we have that double tribal, and you sat up there for like 11 minutes along with Matt, and like and then you also win the immediately next challenge, which are both like endurance and harder challenges. Do you think that kind of was like again like you people knew you'd be good at that already? Because I know you've also done a cup challenge like that and you did pretty well at it. Do you think you didn't throw those because of that, or do you think maybe like do you ever think that like people would see you as this threat because you can win these challenges?
I think in terms of the threat level, I think I was coming into the game with the threat level. Um, yeah, I was coming into the game with the challenge threat level, but I guess for the wall sit specifically, I had a personal goal to do well in there. Um, so I probably should have either given up a lot earlier or pushed to win it, I think.
And I don't know if I ever officially said the timestamp here, but it was 11 minutes and 25 seconds for Victoria. So if anyone from DCP is watching, as of right now, the record, your record is broken by someone who I do not want to talk about. But anyway, I'm good with that. Julia, if you don't got anything else, we'll go to Facebook.
No, those are the main questions I have. I have one question I'd like to ask you at the end, but I'm going to throw it over to Jay, who has questions from the viewers and comments.
Not me not having it up right away. Okay. So first up, we got the lovely Ian Moorhead.
Mhm.
Victoria, what was your biggest mistake in the game?
So as I already mentioned, probably the Lily vote, but more broadly, I think I should have worked with other people in the merge that weren't at the top of the social connections. So I already mentioned like Matt, Elijah, and Bill. I think one of my strengths in these games is I'm able to work with underdogs pretty well and team up with them to the point where we're not really underdogs anymore. But I didn't do that in this game. And I think I was always going to be somewhat average with like socially within the DCP group. So I really should have kept in some of the people from the early merge.
Okay, yeah, so then that's Ian, and then we got Carrie. Victoria, what's your current favorite card game? Personally, like Uno. She has a second question, but go ahead and answer that first.
So I like a lot of different card games. I think I like Spades, and then a game that some other DCP people taught me, Nerds. So one of those two.
And also, why didn't you stick with the girls?
Um, so that was my mistake, but I think in that round when Lily went, I guess I was too caught up in the fact that I was like somewhat invited into kind of a big threats alliance, and I think it got to my head a little bit. So I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, so I would actually do a follow-up question to that. So you see, like Ian's saying you're in this big threats alliance, right? But like,
Mhm.
did you think like knowing how Ian is very smart, did you ever like consider like was it ever consideration for you? Because kind of like the way it came out, it was kind of like you were a little on the fence, but not like you're leaning way more way than the other. Was there ever like consideration of the Girls Alliance or?
I think that I think that regardless of the direction that I went, I would probably end up being voted out around fifth place. But I think had I voted out Ian at that point, I would have voted out somebody who had the most influence socially. And I
Mm.
think if I vote that person out, then there's a little more equal of a playing field. So I think I should have gone with the girls' alliance and then tried to figure it out later.
Right. And we also have McKenna Feeney, who says, Victoria, you are a delight and you have my screen or always with a heart emoji. And then next up we have Gabby. Gabby or Victoria, you did a great job on immunity run and proved that you were the challenge threat I knew you would be. Going back to the final pre-merge vote, could you tell I wasn't entirely on board for a girls' lines or had every intention of working with Bill moving forward?
I think I did see that coming just because I knew that Bill and Gabby have a strong personal relationship and a strong relationship in other online games. So I didn't fully anticipate that she would work with me over him.
All right. And that's all the questions we have for Facebook. Unfortunately, there's not a lot, but we can do some filler if you want. Okay, you want to do anything? Yeah, so I guess we can do some filler questions here. So like, is looking back, you said you regret, like, obviously, but like, if there wasn't like, would you ever consider like kind of doing like a more of like, instead of like keeping some of these people around and do more of a swing thing, like I'm gonna take out a girl here, a guy next, and kind of like limit the power, because obviously we see, and we're at Final Four, so we don't know what's yet to come. But Ian has a lot of influence in this game, and like you said in your final words, if Ian's at the end, I'm going to show the same vote to rub in people's faces. Like, what do you think you could have done to maybe target him better, and like maybe do like a pendulum strategy like that at all?
So I did intend to do that where maybe I vote out Lily but try to go for Ian after that. But I didn't fully anticipate that that would be impossible because I think by not voting him out at the Lily vote, it gave him a chance to get the loyalty of other players to the point where they didn't realize they needed to vote him out. Because if they realized it, they would have voted him out at final six when they couldn't have voted me out. But I think the fact that they didn't vote him out at six indicates they probably didn't realize the situation that they would all lose to him.
Right, and obviously we don't know it's yet to come, so we don't know if he gets there ultimately. But like, another thing I do have is like you say, he is a threat, whatever. You did, I believe you did know about Lily Steelboat, right?
I actually didn't at the
Okay,
time.
yeah. I thought you said, I don't know, I remember this room with a bunch of girls, I remember exactly what it is, but like, had you known, would you tell Lily, like, hey, let's do this and let's get numbers and steal Ian's vote, and ultimately you'd vote out one of them or blindside, like one of that side, if you had known in retrospect that Ian was going to be able to have numbers and it'd be harder to take a shot at him at this point?
Um, well, with the steal a vote, was it gifted to someone else afterwards?
No, it was gone.
Okay.
So she got voted out with it and it was
Oh,
done.
okay. So yeah, so I think we just needed to vote out Ian at that vote because if we vote out Lily, then there's no steal a vote anymore.
Yeah, so you think that ultimately if you knew about it, you would get it because you didn't want that vote to be used against you.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. I think that's all I have. If you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, so I just have one final question. So obviously, as a member of the jury, you
Mhm.
get to crown the winner of our season without revealing who exactly you voted for. What were
Mhm.
you looking for in that eventual winner when you went to go cast your vote?
I think the most important thing for me was like being able to see how they played the game above and beyond the existing relationships because everyone came in with the relationships. So I think I'm more like, if you compare social and strategic, I think I have a bias for strategic gameplay. So that was the way that I ended up voting.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Like I said, that's all the questions I have. Thank you for taking the time to join us. I'm going to throw it over to Jay to talk a little bit about the rest of finale week.
Yeah, I just have one more question. I want to know this. I should have
Mhm.
asked this a lot more people, I think.
Mhm.
What is like if you could work with one person that has not played DCP, and we can include Andrew, even though he's on the current season,
Mhm.
because he didn't, or he was on the current season, but like we can include him because he didn't at the time. Who
Mhm.
would you pick and why out of the people that did not play? And like aside from Gabby and all the ones that are like a little bit more further out
So you're asking like someone from DCP
from non-DCP, yeah, for someone that
or
didn't play DCP,
that I would want to play with?
yeah.
Um, I think it would be fun to play with one of my real life friends that also likes Big Brother, and I've gotten her into Survivor also.
Okay, awesome. And like, and like out of the, I'm gonna say the 4 people too as well. I want one too. Like out of
Mhm.
like, if Julia had to leave us, so just
Mhm.
don't worry about that. But like I'm saying, like, so out of like Alex, Bo, and the people that didn't play, so like Alex, Bo, Andrew, and Zach, who would you like to play with in the
Oh,
future?
Alex, probably.
All right, sounds good. So, like that's being said, we're all set up over here. Unfortunately, Julia had to leave right
Okay.
now, so yeah, we are good to go. I am, as always, I'm here, your host, Jay Milligan. We got finale week coming up, final 4 episode, and the final trial will be tomorrow, and then we have a bunch of coverage. As I said, I did my shameless plug in the last interview. I'll do it again in case someone's seen this one. We are currently casting for Bayonetta Island. It is on the 17th of September. Get the applications in. We'll be closing up soon here. And as always, I am joined by Julia Rowe, who have, like I said, had to leave. And we got our 5th place finisher on the season, Miss Victoria Fong. Good night, everyone.